All right, welcome everybody to the Parenting and Bonding with Children's Books podcast, where we believe that books are magic, and we'll get back to that, and have the power to transform homes. On this podcast, we talk to the authors behind the magic to find out their true intentions behind the books. And we are here tonight with children's book author and fellow podcast host, Michael John Sullivan. Hi, Michael.
Hello, Quinn. It's very nice to be with you. I'm actually honored because I've followed Aidyn's books for quite a long time now.
Oh, wonderful. And I know that some of the authors in my community will recognize your face and name as soon as they see it and get so excited. So you are the host of the Magical Books for Kids podcast, and I
Yes.
love that title. Can you tell us a bit about your show?
Sure. We started it about 14 months ago. What we wanted to do was supplement the books that we were doing. We have a website called magiceverywhereinc.com, and that's where our characters, our books, and everything are. So we wanted to do a podcast where we could help other authors out, give them some exposure, have them promote their books. I love it when actually the authors will actually read from their books. It's even better when you have people on there that actually use different voices as well. We had the woman who did Angela Pickle's voice from the Rugrats, and she actually did the Angelica Pickles voice. It was so cool to hear it done. But she had a book come out, and then we had the person that did the Disney Frozen 2 book. We had her on. Then we had the woman that did If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, or If You Give a Pig a Pancake, Laura Numeroff. She kept our kids comfortable and fun when I used to read to my daughters many moons ago. Now they're in their 20s. So it's actually a thrill. It's a thrill actually to see so many different authors. The thing I'm finding amazing is that many books, doesn't matter whether you're a best-selling author or you're with a traditional publisher, these books are really good. They got great ideas behind it. They got great messages. They have all these different gadgets like coloring pages in it and all these different games that they associate with the actual books. There's a lot of creative people out there. And even more fascinating was the illustrators. Where are people finding their illustrators? Well, in our last book, The Lizard Who Loves a Blizzard, we found our illustrator in Cuba. And she's 21 years old, and she wants to come to the States to study and everything. She's tremendously talented. Then we had the lady that did our Sock Kids books, Alexandra Gold. She's in Romania, and it's amazing. I'm finding more and more people finding all these different illustrators around the world. So the idea behind it is to give, whether you've written one book or whether you've written 100 books, we want to have you on our show, and we want you to have a chance to talk about your book. So many, as I said, so many fascinating stories and everything. A lot of creative people out there, including yourself.
Thank you. That's beautiful. And I feel like we have a very similar mission to talk to authors no matter what stage they're in. And it's been a real journey of discovery, like you said. I think that we started out coming into the space because I just had a great love of books and I love reading to my son, and just being on Facebook and this whole internet world just opening up so much to us, finding this self-publishing world. I feel like you said, there's so many different stories, so many people, so many different authors and illustrators, and so many excellent stories that we just wanted more parents to know about them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
and so we just wanted to bring them and give them visibility so that more parents would hear these magical stories, right, and they would be able to read them to their kids. So you do something a little different on your show. You have them read their books, and that's amazing.
Yeah, some of them want to do it, some of them don't. I should correct myself. We started in December of 2020. So, yes, so they have the opportunity if they wish to read from their book. Some of them have done some amazing jobs. One particular lady sang a tune as well, but she includes tunes in it as well. I won't sing, okay? I do not. I want people to listen, so I'm not going to sing. So, but yeah, there's some very talented people out there. They sing, they write their own songs, they include it in the book. They actually include a digital thing where you can put a code in and listen to the song as the book is
Yeah.
being read and everything like that. So yes, so some people have read from their book and everything. You know, as I said, my thrill was hearing Angelica Pickle's voice be done right before me. You know, as she was talking about her children's book. So
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. As I said, so many talented people out there, and some are shy. Some don't want to, you know, some will talk about coming on and then they don't want to come on. And I've had a few cancel at the last minute. So I could tell they were, you know, they're little afraid. But it's a fun
Hmm.
podcast. It's like me talking to you right now. We could be sitting in the backyard having a cup of tea or coffee or whatever you like to drink, and we could be talking about a book. That's really what it is,
Yeah.
you know, podcasting in that sense. And that's why it became very popular. You know, during the pandemic, podcasting became very popular,
Hmm.
and it's still maintaining its popularity.
Yeah, it certainly is. So, you mentioned that you're an author. Can you tell us a bit more about your books? And I think you told me before we came on you have a couple of your books next to you.
I do. And, originally, real quick, a Reader's Digest version of where I've come from.
Yes.
I've written for newspapers. I was in sports. I love sports. So I was a sports writer. I worked for some New York newspapers. Then I did a radio show. Then I did a newsletter. I did some work for ESPN college basketball show as
Hmm.
well as the sporting news. And then I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to write a novel. So I wrote a novel. It's called Necessary Heartbreak. And
Okay.
everybody was telling me, you're not going to find an agent. It's not going to be picked up. It was self-published at first, but I found an agent, and Simon and Schuster bought the book. So
Mm,
that was the novel thing. And the next book comes out March 22nd, called The Shattered Cross. But while
congrats.
doing that, I loved children's books, and I was always fascinated where my socks went. You know, I was always losing socks. So I gave up matching my socks. Okay. And
Okay.
my daughters uh, made fun of it. They would make fun of it. And I was thinking, where are my socks going? I said, you know what? Maybe they time travel through the spin cycle of a washer. And maybe they're landing on people from historical times like Abraham Lincoln or people like that. You know, so we wrote the first few books were written called The Sock Kids Help Sock Kids Meet Lincoln. So here's the book, Sock Kids Meet Lincoln. And this was the first book that I wrote. I co-wrote it with Susan Patron. And it's about this sock who lands on the foot of Lincoln at Gettysburg. And what the sock, one is a black sock and one is a white sock. And so they strike up a friendship and everything. And the theme was, of course, obviously Lincoln at Gettysburg and what his presidency was all about, especially after the Civil War, was that all men are created equal. And because the White Sox became friends with the Black Sox, they had something in common in that sense. So that was the message of that particular book. And then we used the Sock Kids. I met my business partner, Shelley Larkin, and she worked for this company called Destination Imagination. She was a volunteer. It's 200,000 kids. They come across from all over the world. And what they have to do is they can compete in plays and musicals. They have to create their own props. They create their own writing. They can have a little bit of help, but it's up to them. And it's 5 or 6 kids that get together and they work on a project. It's supposed to basically teach working together for a goal. No, I had never heard of Destination Imagination. I mean, have you heard of Destination Imagination at all?
It sounds familiar, but I feel like it's just the words that are used.
Okay,
Yeah.
I had never heard of it. Okay, so this was like 5 or 6 years ago, and supposedly they have it in New York State, but I was on Long Island. I'd never heard of it. I had 2 daughters, and it never struck me. So I said, okay, you know, it's very nice that you reached out to me. I'll go to the event. It was in Tennessee, the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And the opening night was in the arena, the University of Tennessee arena, which holds about 20,000. So I walk in and every seat is full. And I'm thinking, there's 20,000 plus people and there's thousands of kids on the floor and everything. Thinking, how did I not hear about this? You know, and out walks Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon. He comes out and he gives a speech about Mars and going to Mars and all this other stuff, thinking, I had never heard of this. So my business partner, Shelley Larkin, reached out to the people there at Destination Imagination. She had been a volunteer for 20 plus years, and she was able to partner up and do a book called The Sock Kids Say No to Bullying. Here's The Sock Kids Say No to Bullying. Okay, there we go. And the idea behind this particular book is obviously an anti-bullying message. It's a story about the sock kids and what they learn about bullying. And then in the back of the book, there's questions for adults and children to discuss, as well as we had a licensed children's counsel give advice if your kid is being bullied, what you should do and everything like that. So it was more of an educational bent in that particular book as opposed to the Lincoln book, though the Lincoln book had a very, very important message about everybody getting along. So that worked out well in that sense, because the people at Destination Imagination bought 5,000 books and they handed it out to all their managers at the global event, the event that had 20,000 people in the arena. So they handed it out to all their managers and they had to discuss the book and talk about bullying, because those were the type of kids actually that were getting bullied the most, because they were considered, geeks, the brains, and everything. They were kids that, were very creative and everything like that. They weren't, the athletes or anything like that. So they were very talented too, because I sat in on many of these events and you could see that the creative writing, the singing, the ability to create props, and the way they work together, which was the most impressive part of Destination Imagination. So that was The Sock Kids Say No to Bullying in that. And that was a very big successful campaign that we had with Destination Imagination. So for a while we didn't do too much after that. And then The Lizard Who Loves a Blizzard, that's the one that came up. And it only came up because I moved to Florida, and all I kept seeing was these little geckos running in front of me as I came out of the condo. So I was thinking, geez, these things are fast. There's so many of them and everything. So I said, what would a lizard do if there was a blizzard, right? So we took the ultimate dreamer, a lizard in Australia who wanted to snowboard on Christmas Day. Well, if you know your geography a little bit, there's no snow in Australia on Christmas Day because it's their summer. That's their summer. But this little lizard, Larry the lizard, had this dream. He would dream, he'd have his little snow cap on, he'd have his snowboard ready on Christmas Day. And all he got was like was hot sun and like 100-degree weather. Of course, this is a children's book, and you want to make sure that people's dreams do come true. Little Larry finally got his dream. He was in the bath. He was taking his little bath, and all of a sudden there was a snowflake that came down, and his little eyes popped open and everything. And then another snowflake, and then another snowflake. And then he put his tongue out, and he was capturing and everything. And then there was the blizzard comes, and Larry could snowboard. And he snowboards down this hill, and all the people that had heard about his dream gathered, and they cheered him on as he went down the mountain. All right, so here's that book. This is The Lizard Who Loves a Blizzard. Yeah. So it's illustrations by Yanesi Puente Cruz, and it's a rhyming book, which was a lot of fun. So it seems that the rhyming lines kind of stay with you in some regards. So that's the story behind Larry the Lizard Who Loves a Blizzard. And that book is our last book that just came out.
Okay. So, what is, I don't know how to ask this. What's your writing process like when you have an idea? Like, how do you write? Do you have a special place you write? What motivates you?
You know what it is? It's real situations that motivate me. Whether it's a novel, like the first novel that I wrote, The Necessary Heartbreak, it's about a widowed father and a single daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I had a dream about my mom had passed away like the age of 47, and I always wondered, is she okay? She had a pain, where is she? And I had this dream that I was on that I was in First Century Jerusalem, and I was chasing this man on a donkey, and I was yelling, "Is my mom okay?" And I woke up, and I remember it was an August morning. It was hot out and everything. I said, "I got the story I've been looking for so many years," you
Mm-hmm.
know. And that's how the first novel came, and now it's a 5-part time travel series. Sock Kids was with my daughters. They always made fun of me,
Mm-hmm.
with my mismatched
Yeah.
socks. And so I would think, where did the socks go? So I used the element of time travel again. And the lizard, of course, was the little lizards that ran in front of me here in Florida. So where are they going? I wonder what they do during the blizzard. So it's got to be something that like propels me. But my writing process is very simple. I buy a new notebook for every new book, and I write my
Okay.
notebook first. And I write and then I transcribe. So it's like an editing process too for me. I'm writing and I'm editing as I go along. And then when I'm transcribing, I'm editing. Then obviously it's a different dimension with a novel when you're writing. This last novel I wrote was like 440 pages as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to a 36-page children's book. So it's a big
Yeah.
difference between the time that you start and the time that you end in that sense. So yeah, I keep my notebook everywhere. And when I'm really on or I'm really into the story, I take my notebook in my car. I take my notebook, if I'm in the shower, you know, just in case an idea comes, I want to write it down in that sense.
To bring it back to the magic of books. You have two daughters. What did story time, if you don't mind me asking, look like in your home? What did books mean to your family?
Oh, it's just it developed a love of reading especially for the youngest. I mean, she's a prolific reader. The
Mm-hmm.
oldest, not so much, but I always read to them. We always read to them. Uh, And to me, it's the most wonderful moments, the memories that you have as you're growing up. My relationships with my daughters are tremendous. I was a stay-at-home dad. I worked from home. I covered
Yeah.
I covered high school basketball. I went out on weekends and I watched the games and everything, and I wrote about it for my newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I took them with me to the games. So we've had some of the most fondest memories of taking trips to different parts of the country to watch watch high school basketball.
Yeah.
You know, including LeBron James. I saw LeBron James as a sophomore in Columbus, Ohio.
Wow.
Yes, he was playing. He was playing the number one team in the country at the time, Oak Hill Academy, in
Mm-hmm.
Mount Wilson, Virginia. They were at the Columbus Convention Center. So I remember this just like this, just like this. He was a sophomore, and I
Mm-hmm.
saw him play, and he had 35 points, 23 rebounds, and 18 assists. They lost by a point. He threw a hot shot from half court. It just rimmed the basket. He was crying after the game. He was such a competitor. But I tell you, it just made to me that was some of the fun parts. And my daughters came with us. We all went. We took the trip. We used to go to Disney World all the time for these basketball games and everything. But during the off times that night, we'd read. And as I said, to give a pig a pancake, to give a mouse a cookie, Curious George books as well. There were so many books that we read, and to me, it's the connection that you develop. You're developing not only a father-daughter connection, you're also developing a connection with reading and how important it is. Because let's face it, we're always reading. I mean, whether you're reading a book or you're on Facebook or you're on Twitter or you're reading something, you got to use your eyes to read everything. Everything that you do is based upon reading. And as you get an adult, it's math, a little bit of math. I hated math. I couldn't stand math, but reading was very important. So it was such a bond. You know, I would have never given up. I wish I'd done more. I wish I'd done more. Let's face it, when we're all ready to say goodbye in this world, what are we thinking about? Well, we're not thinking about how many days we could have worked more. We're thinking about wish we could have spent more time doing things with family and friends and things like that. And
Yeah.
I was very fortunate that I could stay at home and work and be a part of my daughter's growing up. Not many fathers get that chance, unfortunately.
Very true. Thanks for sharing that. And I completely agree. It's about the
Mm,
connection.
mm.
So I am going to leave the screen to you if that's okay. I do have
Sure,
one question. You're from
sure.
New York.
I am. You have my New York accent?
Yes, so I'm originally from New Jersey, which I
Okay.
always tell people we don't have an accent except when they laugh when I say water instead of water.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Yeah,
So
who are
so
your
what part of New
teams?
Jersey where you're from?
I'm from South Jersey, right across the bridge from Philly.
Oh, you are. Okay. So you by Cherry Hill in that area?
Yeah, I was. I'm in Dallas now, but we moved from, yes, the Cherry Hill area.
Okay. I
Yep.
know it well.
Who are
I,
your teams?
my teams are the New York Giants as football, the New York Yankees in baseball, the New York Islanders, because I've lived on Long Island for 30 years, for
Okay.
hockey, and unfortunately, basketball as New York Knicks. But I
Okay.
go back to the days of Willis Reed, Wolf Frazier. I remember when I was 9 years old, I'd stick the radio underneath my pillow because my parents always wanted me to fall asleep early. But I would listen to that 1969-70 championship team when they beat the Lakers. And Willis Reed came out of that tunnel in game seven. He limped out and he inspired the Knicks to win a championship in 1969, as well as 1973. So those were the fun days. Those were the
Wow.
fun days. We had Patrick Ewing for a while. They had a chance to beat the Rockets. They didn't, but the Knicks haven't won a championship since 1973, And I went to St. John's University. We had a great team.
Okay.
We
Okay.
had Chris Mullen. We had Walter Berry, you know, Billy Goodwin, David Russell. At one point they were ranked number 3 in the country. So those are the days. Those are the days, many moons ago.
Yeah. My father is going to love this episode.
Some of the biggest thrills have been meeting the people that I grew up listening to. So my best interview, and I've interviewed her a couple of times, and she's still with us. God bless. Is Jackie Robinson's widow, Rachel Robinson, the nicest person in the world. She not a bitter bone in her body. I remember interviewing her, and I would say, weren't you angry? She goes, no, no. We knew that this was going to happen. What a courageous woman, and she's still here with us today. And I interviewed her many years ago, 20, 30 years ago. So I was very fortunate to meet and interview all these different wonderful people. Hank Aaron, I interviewed all these great players, Billy Martin, Reggie Jackson. So I consider, it's weird because before I ever started this, I had a certain goals. As you're a young kid, you had a certain goals in mind. I've done everything that I thought I would do, and even better. I always thought I would have 2 daughters, and I did.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I
That
guess
is
I should.
interesting.
I guess I should have put in my head, I need to win the lottery. I need to win the lottery. But that never happened. I never got a premonition that I was going to win the lottery. But I did get the premonition about daughters and things like that. So
Well, like you said, when it's time for us to go, we don't think about that kind of stuff. We think about the relationships we've built, and it sounds like you have built some awesome relationships, especially the ones with your daughters, and that's powerful.
yeah,
So,
thank you.
yeah,
As what you do and everything. I mean, you do it all. I can't imagine that. Because
yeah,
I had help. I have help. When the kids were growing up, we had a next door neighbor that would help out every so often. When I had to do something. So very fortunate. Very
yeah.
fortunate. I consider myself very fortunate. I'm here. My mom passed at 47. My younger sister passed at 44, both from cancer.
Oh
I feel
wow, I'm
very
sorry.
fortunate. Yeah, every day that I'm given, I feel like I'm fortunate. Mhm.
You gonna make me cry?
No, I'm sorry, but it's true though. It's true because you have to really look at the life that you're given, right? And thank goodness I was born in this country and not born in the Ukraine or born in poor sections of Africa or you, you just don't know. Why was I born? I always think, why was I born here? Why was I born here and somebody else was born there and doesn't have the same luxuries? I mean, I've interviewed authors from South Africa and they would talk to me about the difference of what they had to go through as opposed to what they are going through today living in the United States. And she calls this the land of plentiful. That was her words. This is the land of plentiful, whereas other places don't have what we have, running water, you know, a roof over our heads, things like that. And I was homeless. I was homeless in 1983, 84 winter. You know, I did not have a great relationship with my father, and he just basically tossed me out. You know, and I remember riding the trains in the New York City subway system. You know, just how part of my first book was written. I took my little green bag of belongings. I didn't have much, but I had a pen and I had a notebook, and I started writing the first book, which was Necessary Heartbreak. I wrote it on the train. You know, and I always tell people that's how I got my compassion, because I was on that train for 6 weeks, and I saw all the people that were on that train, and they were all different ages, families, basically, just to get out of the cold. And they would ride the trains back and forth. I used to ride the train from Queens to the World Trade Center, the E train or the F train, and I would just go back and forth overnight just to stay warm and everything. And I write as well. So it makes you develop a compassion, a really deep compassion, because you're giving this notion by society that the people who are homeless are all drug addicts or alcoholics or whatever. That's not true. There's many people with different stories, and that's what I know. That's what I saw on the trains, and I always wondered, did all my brothers and sisters get off that train? Did they? I was fortunate where my aunt rescued me. You know, so to me, that's something to think about as well, and it's also part of my book. You know, the novels as well, especially Necessary Heartbreak. You know, which is half autobiographical in that sense. You know, so, and we try to do that with the children's books as well. We want to teach a level of compassion. The Sock Kids Meet Lincoln. That's the level that we want to reach with kids. Just because a person looks different than you doesn't mean you can't be friends and you can't develop friendships and things like that. And that's what the black and white sock learned on that day in Gettysburg when Lincoln was talking. You know, and much like the anti-bullying book, or our socks are different colors. You know, they're different colors because we're all different, and we should celebrate our differences as opposed to always looking for something. That's why I don't like social media so much. I don't want to go off on a little tangent here. I don't like Twitter because all it is confrontation and everything. Everybody's looking to pick on everybody, blah, blah, blah. I think we just need to be more united. You know, and it's sad that it has to be a Travis, you know, after 9/11, right? Everybody says, well, I wish we had a 9/12 again, you know, when people were actually unified, you know, because we can do a lot of great things together as opposed to when we're divided. So there's many things where we can be unified about. So that's what the book's about, really. Integrity, decency, love, kindness, uh, love, just love, you know, no matter what, you know. Dream. Your dreams are as important as the next guy's dream, no matter how silly you may seem. I've had many people tell me when I was younger, you're not going to be a sports writer. You're not going to write a book. You'll never get an agent. I heard that from adults when I was doing my first book. You'll never get a traditional publisher, Simon and Schuster. No. Look, I'm not saying that happens for everybody, but if you work hard, you'll increase your chances of getting to where you want to get. So that's what The Lizard Who Loves a Blizzard is about. This particular book here, it's about following up on your dreams. You know, this lizard believed, even though it was Australia, December 25th, he believed someday that he would see a blizzard where he could go snowboarding. And who doesn't want to root for a lizard like that, right? You know, who doesn't love an underdog story? You know, to me, that's what makes people united for each other is that they love an underdog story. They love anybody who can rise up, you know, quote unquote, out of the ashes and have a successful and a wonderful story to share. So, Jackie Robinson, his wife, who I consider Jackie Robinson's wife one of the most incredible women in the world, because she was there, she was dealing with the stuff, and she had to watch someone that she loved, okay, to be abused and everything. So to me, that's even a harder thing. If I was going through it and someone that I loved had to watch me going through that, I think it would be worse for that particular person, and for her to pass along the word of love and kindness is, to me, just a remarkable thing. So if you're hearing this, Rachel Robinson, thank you so much for those interviews.
Thank you so much, Michael. So, with all that being said, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
give the screen to you
Okay.
and have you read your book. I'll be in the background. Just let me know when you're ready for me to come back.
All
Thank you.
righty. Well, this is The Lizard Who Loves a Blizzard. And I want to say a special thanks to our author, the co-author, Shelley Larkin. Shelley took the first script and made it better. So she is a tremendous writer and a wonderful business partner. And also, kudos to Yanezi Puentes Cruz. She is the beautiful, she made these beautiful illustrations, okay? Just beautiful. So I'm going to read this particular book. It's a rhyming book. And the first page starts like this: The day was hot as can be. Larry the lizard fried eggs on his sidewalk cafe. And let's show the illustration here. There's Larry frying his eggs on the sidewalk cafe. All right. Let's go to the second page. Larry loved his little life down under, but he jumped for joy at the sound of thunder. Oh, he'd shout out to his kangaroo friends with glee. Can this be the snowstorm I so want to see? It's a nice little picture of Larry, how excited he is. His friends laughed so hard that they cried. Winter in Australia means snow from the sky. But Larry believed the generations before who spoke of the white Christmas snow lizards of lore. Every Christmas, Larry would step outside, stretch out his neck, and move side to side, trying to coax the clouds in the sky. Larry believed snow would happen for sure. His heart was so big, his wishes so pure. His friends would laugh and say, Larry, come on, there's no way. Our Christmas is hot, and that's how it will always stay. But Larry the lizard refused to believe that he would never see a snow-covered tree. He dreamt of snow every single night, wishing and longing for a Christmas of white. Let's show another picture of Larry. There he is sleeping. There he is, Larry sleeping. He does sleep well too, though. Okay. Year after year, every Christmas stayed green, but Larry still held tight to his dream. His friends always laughed, but he never lost cheer. Larry kept wishing every year. It was one strange day in the mouth of December. Larry's snow dreams melted, but his heart still remembered. Maybe his friends were right after all. Maybe the snow would never fall. This made Larry sadder than ever, so he hummed a small tune, and that made him feel better. Next Christmas Day came with a chill in the air, and Larry remembered he needed to wash his little derriere. Larry stepped outside, and the Christmas lights glimmered. Clouds covered the sky, and the sun grew dimmer. Larry jumped into the lake for his morning bath when a single snowflake took a curious path. The fluttering flake ended up on his nose. Just look at his face. His surprise really shows. And there's Larry. We're going to show Larry with his little, there he is. Oh, he's so cute. Larry the lizard leaped out of the lake. He could hardly believe it, but it was no mistake. White puffy flakes fell down from above, filling Larry's heart all the way up with love. Larry the lizard felt so alive. His wishes came true. His dream realized. He loved everything about it, the cold and the breeze. The snow had now piled up well past his knees. And let's show a picture of little Larry, Yanesi Puente's Cruz, with his beautiful illustrations. Larry the lizard dug deep into the fluff. It was so much fun, he could not get enough. With tiny hands and a full heart, he tunneled quickly toward City Park. He moved so fast, he was on quite a tear. Larry was faster than a polar bear. And at the top of what did he do? He called out to his friend the kangaroo. Then Larry spied a nearby tree and had a thought that filled him with glee. He peeled off a nice, smooth piece of the bark to ride down the hill back down to the park. Larry looked down and could see the whole town. Everyone cheered as the snow kept falling down. All of his friends could finally see how wonderful Larry's snow could be. That day, the snow brought the whole town together. Everyone's mood was as light as a feather. Down the hill so fast he slid, no one could believe what Larry did. Everyone gasped as he sped down the hill. It made them all want to join in the thrill. So the children dove in and the parents cheered loud. He loved hearing all the shouts from the crowd. Here's Larry heading down the mountain there. Larry never wanted this Christmas to end. He disappeared to the cafe and brought back some good cheer for his friends. They all raised their cups and gave Larry a toast. Of all the Christmases, he loved this one the most. You don't have to be a lizard with unshakable hope. Be yourself. Don't mind what others think. Nope. Sprinkle everyone with kindness, and good friends will appear. And believe the impossible, just like little Larry here. The end. Thank you to Shelley Larkin, my co-author, the lead writer, as well as Yanesi Puente's Cruz. It's a favorite book of mine now. I wish I had it to read when my kids were younger, Quinn. So to me, it's a fun book. It's a fun book to read at any time of the year. And as I said, I'm a big Dr. Grinch fan, so I just love the rhyming. Any kind of rhyming book, I want to dig up and read.
Parents are always looking for great rhyming books, and I have to say, as you were reading it, I was as excited for our friendly lizard as I was when you were just telling us about the book. So I want to thank you so much for your time today, Michael. You shared so much with us, and we really appreciate it. Is there anything else that you want to share about your books, about your work?
The only thing I would say is please listen to your podcast as well as mine, because we are doing something for everybody out there. So we're sort of like brother and sister in books, that we're trying to make sure that people hear about as many books as possible, because there's so many talented people out there. So I say give the people a chance, give the authors a chance. It doesn't matter whether they're traditionally published or not. There are so many wonderful books that are self-published too. So I wish that. And if you're dreaming about writing a book, do it. If Larry can get his Christmas with snow, you can do a book. You can write your book.
Yeah, yes. Thank you so much, Michael. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And everybody have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.